Hello, everybody, and welcome back to OMB Reviews. I am the critic who is a cynic. How is everyone doing this evening? Happy and blessed Monday, and welcome to episode 580 of the Welcome to Asgard podcast. Crazy. We're already at 580 after a few years here on the platform. It is also the feast of St. John Cantius in the traditional calendar. We have some things to talk about tonight. Obviously, we are going to talk about the box office from the weekend, as we typically do on these Monday streams. We'll also focus a little bit more on how the studios have been holding up so far this year in 2025, because on the Salty Saturday stream that I do every Saturday on the Salty Nerd Podcast channel, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, we talked a little bit about how bad Hollywood has had it this year, with massive catastrophic flops from some of the biggest studios on the planet, and not a whole lot of movies making profits, let alone making massive profits. And in the case of some major studios, the massive profits that they have been making off of those individual releases have not been enough to make up for their losses elsewhere. So we'll talk about who are currently the winners and losers for the year 2025. And let's just say, as of right now, even a strong showing from Zootopia 2, and potentially even a strong showing from the next Avatar film, Avatar 3, may not be enough to actually overcome the massive discrepancy on their books when it comes to actual net losses. So we'll give some initial findings there. And I did add this to the title last minute, but I did finally, I got Pokemon Legends ZA, and I've been playing that a little bit. I've got some initial thoughts on the game, not doing a full review of it. I'm still very early on in the game. But I got some complaints. There's some pretty good stuff in there, but I do have some complaints as well. I am also someone that is an old school player. I grew up playing Pokemon Red on Game Boy. That was my jam. And I've played some of the other games throughout the years, but Red's the one I always go back to. Sometimes I'll play maybe Silver, and I've played a couple of the other newer games. I think I played Black as a Pokemon X or Pokemon Black, maybe too. I don't know if I ever played those games fully, though. They just never were able to really hold my attention like the old school games were. In my mind, in my head canon, 151 Pokemon are all you need. That's it. Now that we're like at thousands of Pokemon, I'm just like, okay, that's a bit of an overkill. So I'll give some initial thoughts on Pokemon ZA as well. And yeah, let's go ahead and head into the comment section. Make sure you smash that like button, light up that fire button. I fell into it again. Smash the rumble button as well, as we don't stream to that other platform anymore. And let's go ahead and say hello to our people. We got Jeremy Sikowski hanging out in the chat saying, "Evening, Odin, and everyone on here. Good evening to you." We had Snortopupus Cuber at 643 saying, "Hello, humans and other quitters," and then told me hello to you. Snortopupus, glad to have you in the chat. We got Thanatos Felicitas. Hail to you, Thanatos, at 718 in the chat. Wendy Hunter, Wendy, who is a member here on the channel, tagged to say, Odin in chat, hello and happy Monday. Happy and blessed Monday to you. We got Jimmy A in the chat saying, hail Odin in chat. Hail to you, Jimmy A. Thanks for being here. We got Kincaid Rumsky hanging out over on the Green Machine, tagged to say, I just watched an 80s movie whose main star was known to have a big ego, with a co-star who was known to be a dummy from time to time. Which movie did I watch? Well, it can't be Dumb and Dumber, because that film came out in the 90s. But someone with a big ego and another star known to be a dummy. 48 Hours? I honestly don't know. I am not an 80s expert. Keely Chow says hello. Hello to you, Keely Chow. We got GMonkey76 hanging out. Hail to you. By the way, please make sure to smash the like button. Smash that rumble button. Share this out with your friends as well. Anyone who might be interested in this conversation tonight. And also on mobile, if you're watching there, I believe there are some channels. I don't know if my channel has it or not, but there's apparently channels that have like hype points that you can get. If you have any hype points to spare, please feel free to use those on this stream. Every little engagement helps. We got Bruce hanging out in the chat, waving. Hello to you, Bruce. Thanks for being here. Keely Chow with the usual questions. Everyone is doing okay. Thor is a little sick. He's got like a cough and a little stuffy, kind of the typical stuff that you would find. Weekend was okay. Got to rest a little bit. We had our fall break as well, so I got to do some stuff around the house. This morning, actually, I ended up getting an injection in my spine. As many of you know, I've been dealing with some not very comfortable pain, and it was kind of getting worse. Today, actually, even before the injection, it finally started to feel a little bit better. It was like that calm before the storm, I guess. But it was hard to be able to actually try working out or try doing really anything because of the pain. So I'm hoping that the injection I got, it's still a little like, so I took the day pretty easy. Still went to work and everything because that's just what I do. Couldn't drive myself back to work. So luckily we were able to figure that out. But, other than that, started feeling a little fatigue in the legs, not like, anything really, really bad. I was looking at some of the side effects, and that's one that was like, yeah, that can happen as long as it doesn't turn into like being numb or something like that or losing function. That's when it goes a little bit too far, right? That's where you should call someone immediately. Luckily, it has not been that, just tired. So I don't know if I will go much past an hour tonight, just so that I can, lay down, fully and relax. But hopefully it'll help with the pain. Again, a little hard to tell because there's still some sight discomfort where the injection was. So it's really hard to tell. It seems like it's a little bit better, but hopefully I'll be able to tell a little bit more tomorrow. Sometimes it can take a few days for the fullness of the effect to go in. So a little update there on the back situation. And my hope is that it'll feel better so that I can then start to work on core strength. And then that can be a more long-term solution so I don't have to keep getting injections. Hard to do that core strength stuff when the back's starting, though. Caveat Ties, hello. Hello to you, Caveat Ties. Welcome back. Glad to have you here. We got the lovely Sherry hanging out. What's going on, lovely Sherry? Welcome. We got Gary, the Banjo Sandwich Worthington. Hello. And here is a like before I go bed. Sleepy Monday. Okay, sleepy Banjo Sandwich. You go ahead and take care of yourself, good sir. We got member Geek Truth 64 saying it's Odin. What's going on, Geek Truth? Welcome back. Always great to have you here. I need to jump ahead a little bit though because we do have EXVoot. Xvoot, what's going on, brother? With a $5 super chat. Welcome back, Xvoot. Thank you very much for that super chat. I try to get to those and give those preference over regular chats. And he tagged also to say, did you ever see Puss in Boots: The Last Wish? One of the best animated movies I have seen in a long time. Thank you for the great content. Well, hey, Xvoot, I always appreciate your support, man. Thank you. I think I did actually end up seeing that film. It's hard for me to really remember. I know I covered it a lot in the box office because its opening weekend wasn't all that impressive. But then down the line and stretch, because of good word of mouth, because a lot of people, just like you, said it was really good and it was one of the best films that they had seen. It was kind of surprising. I was like, whoa, of all the films to kind of get that kind of praise, usually on name alone, Puss in Boots: Last Wish doesn't really sound like it would be anything too special, but apparently it was pretty good. So again, honestly, I don't remember because I think my mindset was, what may have kept me from seeing it is I needed to see all of the other films that led up to that. I'm kind of a completionist sometimes. So, yeah. But hey, EXVoot, thank you very much for that very generous super chat. Appreciate you. All right, let's head back in time a little bit. Back in time. Caveat Time saying, your beard looks less. I did get it trimmed. Whenever I get a break from school, because it doesn't happen very often, so fall break, great opportunity to go get the beard trimmed. It makes the wife happy, and a happy wife is a happy life. Zane Waters, what's going on, Zane? Saying, Odin, I'm eager to hear your thoughts on Pokemon ZA. I think it's pretty good, but doesn't live up to the concept of Legends since it's set in a modern era. Yeah, I'll be honest. Thank you very much for the comment. And I don't know too much about the Legends era, for instance, when it comes to Pokemon, because as I said, I'm an old school player. Pokemon Red, that was my jam. I played a little bit of like Pokemon Silver, maybe Platinum. Then I think I have played through at least a lot of or some of Pokemon Black or White. I forget which one I even got. And Pokemon X or Y as well. But again, my favorite generation is still the first generation. I love the original 151. I stomach the second generation because they at least say, oh, it's a separate area where these Pokemon are. I'm like, okay with that. But now it's like, oh, there's just so many, and some of the names, the names are already at times a little bit, and now they're even just more. It's like, really, is this where we're going with all this? And obviously, I'd seen some of it introduced in like Pokemon Go because I play that from time to time and on occasion. But yeah, as far as my initial thoughts, since you asked the question, and I don't have too many things I think to say about it, here are my issues with the game. So first, I know there's been a lot of discussion about the effects. This is a next-gen system. It is the Switch 2, right, that this game is primarily being played on by many. And the effects are good, right? The graphics are good, but they could obviously have done a lot more. To be honest, one of my nitpicks with the game is that because of how good the visuals can be, they're not quite to the level that they probably could, but because of how good they actually, as I should say, rather, how clean they are because of the system they're playing on and everything like that, when in the very beginning of the game, you're getting all that backstory and you have all these characters talking and no words are coming out because they don't hire voice actors and they just have the text on the screen. I don't know. I was kind of bothered by that. I thought to myself, I mean, aren't we now at the point in Pokemon where if you make a game like this, with the kind of effects we have, that there maybe should be some voice acting? I mean, there's plenty of voice actors out there that have done Pokemon for years. I don't know why you couldn't bring that, even if it's just in the cutscenes, having that happen, right? And then in your regular dialogue, having the text-based stuff, right? A lot of modern games even still do this. I think Zelda does that, and a bunch of others do it too, right? That's a way. And with the system of the Switch 2, you could absolutely have that kind of data and information, and it could work really, really well. So that was like a very small nitpick. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm kind of like reading the text and everything. It wasn't all that interesting. I'll be honest. I don't have a lot of patience for a lot of newer games in that respect. The biggest issue that I have with the game, though, is, well, actually, let me do a positive first. All right. So the thing I love about the game is it's like a love-hate relationship. I love some of the fighting mechanics, more so the catching mechanics. I love how you catch wild Pokemon now. You can sneak up on them a little bit. You can also try to catch them multiple times while weakening them and then actually knock them out. It's not my issue. Again, it's one of those love-hate things. My issue is that knocking them out, I feel like, should be almost a guaranteed catch. And the fact that after you try to catch them once they've been knocked out, they just disappear. It's like, I don't know. I feel like there should be a little bit more going on there, but hey, I do like the general idea of the mechanic of being able to aim and send your Pokemon live, right? You're not having to do all of the typical game fight mechanics from like the old school where you have to like walk around in the grass back and forth. It would take hours and hours and hours. You can see all the Pokemon as they are, run up to them, engage with them in that way, right? That's one of the things I actually liked going. I think it was maybe first introduced, or at least to me it was, in Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, right? Because you actually could see where the Pokemon were, and then if you wanted to catch one, you could run into it. I love that. Some might have thought that they made the game a little bit too easy, but for someone like me, it's like, yeah, if this is just going to be kind of a replication of Pokemon Yellow, which is what that game really was, I think it's good to make some things easier, but then also changing enough to keep it interesting. So the catching mechanic, the fighting mechanic, they've got positives, right? I like that you can sneak up on other trainers whose Pokemon are out and then get like a sneak attack in, and then you get the advantage there and all that stuff. But one of my big gripes with the game is it takes you forever to get through what is an extended tutorial. The whole time I'm playing the very beginning, I just kept saying, I just want to run around the city. I just want to go on my own. Please get away from me, right? I don't even know the girls. I've forgotten the girl's name at this point, but it's like, just please go away from me. I don't want you near me. I am an introvert. I want to play the game. I want to just go out and explore. I want to go figure things out. But it takes forever. It's one of the longest tutorials I've ever played through because they make it so that it's a tutorial and you're progressing the story. And it goes on for way too long. And I at several points, I'm like, okay, I'm kind of bored by this already. I just want to get into the actual game. Now I'm finally, I don't even know how long it took me, but it took me it felt like more than an hour's worth of gameplay, which is, again, for a tutorial, is insane. And I'm finally at the point now where I can actually go around and do things on my own. And now it's starting to get a little bit fun. So a little frustrated here and there. Again, I do like the fighting mechanic change. The fact that it's different is unique. But I do think that for me, as someone who's not a hardcore gamer, it's a little bit more difficult because you're having to keep an eye on your Pokemon's HP, but your eyes have to be on the bottom left corner of the screen, but the fight's happening at the top right. And so it's like, wait a minute, how do I even know how much health my Pokemon has left? Like, why can't you have just a little bar over them that's a little easier to see, I guess. So yeah, there's like little things like that graphically and system-wide that it's keeping the game from being as good as it could be. I know there's been like a lot of people that have been kind of crapping on the game. I know I've heard that they're already like selling DLC, and so it's like, yeah, you paid like the $70 for the game, and now you can also pre-order the DLC, and then that'll come out next year. And it's like, wait a minute, that's ridiculous. That's just extortion, right, at this point. But again, as far as the actual game, the gameplay, the mechanics, a lot of stuff I like. You can fast travel, which is really nice. That loads up pretty quickly too, especially for a game of that sort. But I definitely have a lot of issues with the fact that you have to go through this really long tutorial experience, and also how the gaming and fighting mechanics are interesting. They could be great, but they're not quite there yet. So those are my thoughts on Pokemon ZA. If you're playing the game, or have played the game, or have interest in the game, what are your thoughts? Let's get back into the comments. Love you, Sherry is still here. Thank you. Abomination, what's going on, Abomination? Hanging out over on the Green Machine. Welcome back. Michael Burgett tagging to say, hey, Odin, have you had a chance to check out the John Candy doc, I Like Me? I loved it myself. Thought it's the best documentary of the year and probably last couple of years. I've not. I want to. I have it. I have access to it. And I'm waiting to watch it with my wife. My wife loves documentaries. Likes John Candy enough. I mean, she's not like a mega fan. I would, say I'm not necessarily a mega fan. I love his comedic roles, though, so I definitely am a fan. But again, I don't know like everything about him or anything to that extent. So I'm actually excited to see it, to get to know a little bit more about him and his life, and his very unfortunate and incredibly early death too. I mean, man, it's always sad when you hear about the deaths of younger actors, especially younger comedic actors. It's like him and then Chris Farley, amongst many others. It's always a tragedy when they go too soon. But I'm very excited to check it out. So waiting to watch that one with the wife, though. All right, Zine Water is saying, also, you're looking like you've gotten in shape. Well, I appreciate that. It was probably the beard trim, if anything else. I was losing a couple pounds here and there, but I'm pretty stable, so that hasn't changed really in some time. Abomination is losing his mind at work, I see. Justin C. Hello and hey, guys. Hey, guys. Abomination says here, 152 Pokemon. Don't forget the greatest Pokemon of them all, Missing Num. Oh, yes. Okay, you are right, Abomination. You have corrected me. 152, because Missing No, as I always called him, right, which just stands for missing number. Missing No was also a phenomenal, but that was one where you didn't want to catch it because it could break your game or something like that. That was always the rumor on the forums. And Blaze, remember when forums were a major thing? And Blaze64, hail Odin, hail to you. Wendy Hunter, what do you do with the hype points? I don't know. I've not seen them myself, but I think you can just give them to the channel and it'll help in the algorithm or something. I don't know. I don't even know if I have them. Kimberly G, Keelan Shadowcat, is a member here on the channel. Kimberly G, how is it going? Saying, howdy Odin and all the chat. Howdy to you. We got Zine with another question. I know it's off topic, but have you ever seen the movie Rockula? My cousin recommended it and thought it was fun. It's crazy going back and watching old indie films. The texture is better. No, I've never even heard of it. Again, Xvoot, thank you for that super chat. King and Rumsky, was there an original injury that started this back problem? I've had back issues since I was a teenager. Probably from years of bad posture. I was very active as a teenager, did a lot of sports, probably not lifting things. I mean, there's probably a lot of contributing factors. Add to that my family has a history of joint issue and pain, right? And all the typical stuff that happens with that. So that's where like the kind of like that consistent chronic pain has always been. And then obviously like there's been a couple of times the last couple of years, maybe up to 3 times in the last 2 years, where I've actually like pulled my back. Like it's like bending to change a trash bag situation where all of a sudden it's like that sharp pain and you can't sit back up right away and you try to stretch it out and it's just painful. That happened a few times. And so that was kind of like what motivated me to say, I need to look at my back anyway. Let's see if there's something more that can be done. And so I tried doing physical therapy for a few weeks, saw no difference. And it was because I saw no difference after physical therapy and I was going through it. That's when it was recommended to get a pain injection, basically. And again, for me, it's I'm doing this so that I have no pain or much less pain so that I can then start to do some core strength exercises, build up the core, because that should then help be able to mitigate any of the back pain. So that's the goal right now. So next couple of days, I'll start that up once things kind of even out here. Wendy Hunter, I hope the shot keeps helping you. Yes. As I said, it's hard to say whether it's helping me right now or not, because right now it's just general discomfort because of site pain, right, of where the shot was. And that's pretty normal. That's why they say not to drive for the first day after the shot and to keep it easy. And then by tomorrow, they say you can go back to just regular activity. So my hope is tomorrow when I'm walking the dogs. Bruce saying here, I've been getting those for years. I actually have patches, lidocaine, on my lower back at the moment. Just looking forward to the next shot. Yeah, I think lidocaine was what it was, or was a part of it. They obviously did like a numbing shot first, and then they put the needle in. Again, it was all in my head. I laughed when they first said what they were going to do, because they just called it what it actually like technically is, which is an epidural. And immediately my mind's like, but that's a thing for pregnant women. Like, so, because that's my only knowledge that I've ever had is that, oh yeah, my wife's got an epidural for both of our kids. So I was like, oh, epidural, what's going on? And then also my thought was, oh, how big is that needle? Because that needle for the epidural is a little bit bigger, so that they can get the smaller flexible thing inside instead. So I don't know if that's what they did, if they did like a bigger needle and then they because once they were doing, like, it was weird. It was like the weirdest sensation because I could feel it. At one point, I think they accidentally ran into like a bone. And so that was like, oh. So luckily it wasn't like any like wrenching pain, but it was like discomfort and it's a very weird sensation all around. And since then it's just been sight pain, or sight discomfort really is the best way to describe it. Let's see. Geek True 64 had to say, did you get a chance to see Tron Ares yet? If so, what are your thoughts? As a Legacy fan, I give it a 3 out of 10. But the movie is maybe a 4 out of 10 more objectively, not straight garbage, but good. I wouldn't call those good scores, but hey, we all have our own subjective scoring systems amongst other things. Now, I watched the first 10 minutes because that was all I had time for that day, and it was all I could stomach, because from the very beginning, you're like, oh, all of the male characters have now been replaced by female characters. Oh, this is just modern Hollywood. I just, again, the rest of the story could be entertaining, but it's like apathy at this point, right? It's like, I just don't even care to invest the time. So maybe. Lovely Sherry. What's going on, Lovely Sherry? Hanging out over on the Green Machine. Hail to you. Jess Pena. Ahoy. Ahoy. It was a chart breaker for sure. And Blazin, had to say, finding ZA fun, but seeing the limitations of it, not much innovation in it. Yeah, that's why the whole fighting mechanics is like the biggest innovation, and it's not fully thought out, I think. Rob D. Hello, Odin. I watched House on Haunted Hill this weekend. The old Vincent Price. That is the one. Oh, that was so creepy back in the day. Old Vincent Price film from 1959. It was good, but the ending was very abrupt. Yeah, the moment where all of a sudden, right, the skeleton comes out of the acid. I'm like, that freaked me out. I was like, wait, there's just random pools of acid in people's houses? So that's where my child, because I saw it as a, not like a too young child, but one where, those older horror films are pretty safe to introduce to kids as like their first horror films. But I just remember the skeleton, and I was just like, and then there's a sequence, a slight spoiler, I guess, but it's also a very old film where a skeleton is like perceivably walking towards a person and pushing them in. And that was like, I was so freaked out by that. Geek264, hopefully that shot helps your back, Odin. I've dealt with back problems a lot myself over the years, so I get it. Yeah, I understand. Zion saying, I really liked Gen 6 Pokemon X and Y. All subsequent generations have been okay. Legends Arceus, as set in the past, and you sneaked around and caught Pokemon that were that way over battling. Ooh, I might have to check that game out. He then goes on to say, I think how much data goes into the Pokemon's shape and the hundreds of them there are means they don't have room for voice acting just a guess. That's the thing, though, is that they could still make it bigger because I don't think the files are the largest that we've ever seen. Guillermo Gage, what's going on, brother? Over on Green Machine. I saw an animated movie today at 12:40. Monday called Pets on a Train, French Studio Viva. Surprisingly competent movie, 11 other people in the theater. I wanted to see if people actually watch. Oh, interesting. Yeah, I had not heard of that one. But, I've sometimes seen some independent animated movies back in the day when the Oscars mattered, and when they mattered, at least to me. There were sometimes some pretty good nominations of movies that people just had never seen before, and they were pretty good. Usually it was like a foreign language animated movie that got snuck in. Rob D, I'm basically with you, Odin, since I'm a few years younger than you. I love Gen 1 Pokemon. I love Gen 2 Pokemon, especially Lugia and Entei. I only care about Deoxys and Rayquaza from Gen 3. Yeah, again, for even those, it's like some of that makes sense to me, but a lot of it can go over my head. Most of my knowledge of anything past Gen 1 and 2 is from Pokemon Go. Zion, I definitely prefer Legends Arceus. That game is set in the past in an unsettled Hokkaido analog industrial era. So you travel the wilds and catch Pokemon and fill out research requests. That's cool. I like that. King of Remsky, what is another word for a store dummy? Hardwick, are you looking forward to Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein? Been hearing mostly good things about it. Well, it's homework for FNT this week. So I will, if I have the time and if something becomes available through the high seas gar, then I should have time at that point to actually be able to watch it. I'm just happy that we are no longer watching Peacemaker, because Lord, that show sucked. I still do not understand how anyone can still simp for that show. I really can't. Again, you could subjectively enjoy whatever you want, but for people saying it's good, that's an objective standard there. Oh, it's good. Not, oh, I liked it or I thought it was entertaining. Saying it's good, I'm sorry, it's not. Guillermo Gage. Oh, yeah, I was going to give you a buck or two. Hey, K-pop Demon Hunters. Oh, thank you very much for the $2 Rumble rant, Guillermo Gage. Appreciate it. So he says, I was going to give you a buck or two. I appreciate it. Hey, K-pop Demon Hunters returns the movie theaters Halloween and November 1st and 2nd. I haven't watched it yet, and I don't pay for Netflix. I think if you like anime or are open to it, or in between, like me, I like anime, but I don't like all anime. It's not something I go out of my way to watch. And especially this one, I think is more geared towards younger girls. That does not necessarily mean that it's just for girls. I had a friend, actually, a traditional Catholic friend, in fact, say today he watched it with his young ones last night and said, I hate to admit it, but I actually found it entertaining. And I'm like, hey, there's definitely entertaining things in there. Wasn't my cup of tea. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it either. I don't think it's as good as people are saying that it is, but I get it. I do understand it, at the very least, why it is as successful as it is. So again, that's up to you. Make sure it's not a sing-along, because that, to me, especially for a first-time watch, never sounds like a good idea. But yeah, if you feel like you're compelled to watch it, yeah, check it out. Jimmy A saying here, Hollywood loves to bait and switch now. Even the supposed male lead movies are anything but. Yeah, I mean, I honestly think that a great example of this is the Black Phone 2. So it's a movie that has gotten mixed reviews, but right now it's still leaning positive. It's still, I believe it's still in like the rad category over on Criticlist. Shout out to Criticlist, and shout out to them especially for officially partnering with Geeks and Gamers. Awesome that we're having that combination of things. It's I love Criticlist so much. You all know I talk about it all the time. I'm not even sponsored by them, and I always just have spoken so highly. So I'm so glad that partnership was able to work out and to play out. But anyway, getting back to the main point. In the Black Phone 2, throughout the movie, you obviously have the lead actor from the first movie who ended up playing Hiccup in the live action How to Train Your Dragon film. So a pretty competent actor, does pretty good work. He was fantastic in the first Black Phone, and that was when he was even younger when they were filming that, because that film came out in 2022, and they were probably filming it, for a couple years earlier, because a lot of films that got held up from COVID would have come out at that time, and so I don't even know how young he was when he was filming it, but even then, he was still really talented in the film. So this one kind of is interesting because many people are making the comparisons that it kind of goes Freddy Krueger in some of the storytelling of it. And that's definitely true. But the thing that kind of I noticed right off the bat was, wait a minute, we're spending a lot of time on the sister. So as the Black Phone 2, it would be much more interesting, I think, to have the story follow the aftermath of the kid, especially because the kid is such a good actor, have his story be the main focus. But instead, it's her story. And again, this is something that can happen. This is something that can exist apart from politics, right? Apart from identity politics stuff. But because we just live in that era of modern Hollywood, it is impossible for us to not think, oh, did they do that just to try to make her the center of the story and make him kind of a side character in what really should be his story? And then also she kind of becomes OP in a certain light. Not perfect, but still kind of OP, having a lot more power and stuff. Which, again, I think they did a little bit too much with that lore, built it up a little too much without as good explanation as they could have. I still ended up liking it. I actually liked it a lot more than I thought I would after hearing some of the more negative comments on it. But it definitely is a very flawed movie in many respects. But that's another one, right? That would be a film where you think, oh, Black Phone 2, probably predominantly male audience, probably having the male lead makes the most sense. And instead, it was like, I don't know necessarily if a bait and switch. I didn't see the trailer, so I don't know how they promoted her in it. But and again, younger actress, so I don't want to say anything too bad towards her. But she's not as good of an actor as the young kid, as the young guy. It's night and day. It's like, okay, you're a very green actress. He's been around the block a few times, right? He is able to have that presence, that line delivery that just works for her, especially when she was crying. I was like, oh, this is green acting. It's not bad, but it's also not, I think, the level that type of performance and those scenes especially were meant to do. Anyway, that I think kind of your comment reminded me a little bit of the bait and switch that Hollywood does. And Blade64 saying that type of battling was also in Pokemon Legend Arceus 2, I think. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I haven't played it. It sounded like what was being said was instead of it being battling, it was walking around catching Pokemon versus anything else. I don't know. Bruce saying, my back injury was from a bad jump while in the 82nd Airborne. Thank you for your service. Follow-up jumps made it worse. It's why I'm a 100% disabled vet and get worse as the years roll on. I'm so sorry to hear that, Bruce. It's why we need a lot more money and resources, especially heading to our vets. Let's take all those billions towards defense and instead put that towards vets. I think that'd be a better use of money. Yeah, sorry to hear that, Bruce. Guillermo Gage, I have a serious issue of accomplishing so little in my life that I feel too guilty to play video games. I bought Pokemon Legends Arceus and barely played the early parts 2 years ago. Yeah, I mean, it's all about balance, man. That's what it is. Because I've seen the evil that can be brought about by video games. I know that's like, you can't say that. No, absolutely. There is evil within video games. I'm not saying it's like, again, what Odin is not saying. Odin is not saying games are possessed. Odin is not saying that it's evil to play video games. But just like with anything, moderation. There's nothing intrinsically wrong within video games, but it's very easy to allow ourselves to be addicted, to allow ourselves to kind of lose track of time. And if we're not doing the important things first, if we're not putting our priorities in check, it can lead to evil, right? It can lead to not fulfilling the responsibilities of our life, right? As a student, we have certain responsibilities that we have to fulfill. Games can eat up a lot of time and take away from those responsibilities. Being a parent has responsibilities. Gaming a lot can also. I've had a lot of, luckily not my friends, but the spouses of my wife's friends where a lot of tensions were there because the husband was off playing video games, not helping with the kid. And in a couple of occasions, kids got hurt because the fathers were not paying attention to their child. So I can say for sure that there are a lot of dangers within video games. But guess what? There's also a lot of dangers within alcohol. That's why I'm also very much against getting drunk, amongst the fact that, it's sinful to do so, to be drunk, because it darkens the mind and the intellect. But moderation, right? Most things in moderation. I won't say all things in moderation, because there's some things you shouldn't have any of, right? Because in and of themselves, they're bad for you, and do harm to you almost directly, right? I don't think anyone would say, oh yeah, all things in moderation, like, snake venom. It's like, probably not. I mean, some people might try to do the whole build up an immunity thing, but in general, no, not something that we need to put onto our bodies and take in any way, right? But same thing with video games, man, right? You can obviously, if you're in that place, yeah, it sounds like you have a good head on your shoulders to realize, you know what, I probably shouldn't spend as much time on games because there's more that I wish to accomplish in life. But the caveat to that is, what steps are you going to take to bring those things up? By the way, General Wingster is celebrating 20 months as a member. Shout out to you, General Wingster, man. Appreciate you. All right, Hardwick, time to say, I've been hearing great things about the Smashing Machine. It sounds about the same level as Iron Claw. Apparently, Dwayne Johnson proved he can act when he puts his mind to it. Yeah, I haven't seen all of it. I've seen like 75%. And he does give probably the best performance of his career. It's nothing to write home about because he is in a lot of makeup. And so the question always is, how much of that is him? How much of that is just the makeup kind of making it better than what it actually is? That being said, it is a different role for him. He got jacked for that role too. And the story, I think, is interesting. So yeah, I don't think it's as good as the Iron Claw from at least the 3/4 of the film that I have seen. So I wouldn't put it up at that level, but it is better than its box office. I think the box office does not represent how good the film is, but its box office does help prove a point and a fact that social media following does not equate to tickets. If anyone should have massive box office, it's The Rock because of all of his social media followers. But again, it's a false dichotomy, or rather it's a false sense of security for any studio or any person to think, oh, I've got X amount of followers. That means I'm going to have X amount of profits, etc. Because as this film proves without a shadow of a doubt, that's not how the world works. Geek364, I think Tron Ares, I think with Tron Ares, I just don't think it is straight garbage as some others. It's a disappointment, but it could have been worse. That's why I gave it lower mid-tier scores. A 4 or 6 is mid to me. Gotcha. Jenna Wingster, again, thank you very much. Keely Chow leaving the show early, putting the ice cream emojis there. Hardwick saying, it seems that hardly anyone realized there was a Dracula movie this year. It was directed by Luc Besson, and starred the actor who played Banshee in X-Men First Class. There was a lot of films that came out this year that people just didn't even know. Wendy Hunter, I thought K-Pop Demon Hunter was on point. There you go. Guillermo Gage, appreciate you. Psalm 2 verses prayed in a short video by Chris Pratt, which is Psalms 46 and Isaiah 26, came to me at the right time. I saw it yesterday. Well, thank you very much for your dollar Rumble rant. Always great to shout at scripture. EX Boot. Have you seen the Netflix show the new show on Netflix, Black Rabbit? I thought it was good, similar to Ozark, but not as good. I haven't seen it. I have not seen it. My Brigade. Mason Thames, or is it Mason Thames? The actor in Black Phone 2, live action, How to Train Your Dragon, and the original Black Phone, is also in the new film Regretting You, releasing this coming weekend. He's had a busy 2025, yeah. He seems to be picking a lot of good projects that showcase his talents. Jenna Wingster, we getting controversial in here, are we? Hardwick, there were a lot of green acting in She-Hulk. I see what you did there. Jenna Wingster is a member. Why are we talking about Pokemon when Spider-Man is coming out? Deep cut reference. Oh, man. You mean like OG Spider-Man? When it was Pokemon the original or Pokemon 2000? Man. Or is that a line from a movie that I'm just blanking out on? That is a deep cut reference. I will say that much. What I can say is that Pokemon the latest release is infinitely better than Spider-Man 2. And Spider-Man the game 2, not the movie, Spider-Man the game 2, like the reiteration, because at least so far I have not had to go on any crazy woke leftist subplot storylines. As soon as I got put on a storyline where I had to, in a video game, I had to help a guy ask out another guy. I'm sorry. Why is that in a video game? Why is that something that I have to do? Why is that something that I can't easily remove myself from storyline-wise? At that point, I'm like, nope, I'm done. It's one thing when at one storyline is you have to play as a deaf girl. Again, you're playing a game about Spider-Man and now you're having to play as a deaf girl. It's like, what the heck is going on here? Yeah. That one happened first and then the other one happened. And then I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'm done. Because I like the general gameplay. I like the first Spider-Man game because of the fighting mechanics and everything like that. But it's like story-wise, I'm sorry. No, screw you. Not what I came to play a video game for. Guillermo Gage. Oh, that was a typo. I typed the word Psalms twice. It's all good. I thought I was able to pick that up. Caveat Ties. Caveat, thanks for the shout out. Well, there you go. Jimmy A. The Dracula movie seems to have done pretty well in Russia. Granted, the Russians are pretty starved for entertainment right now. What is the name of it, though? Context. Jonah Wingster. Sorry, Odin. It's an EFAP reference. Yeah, there's no way I would have gotten that. I do not have time to watch any EFAP. It's good content. And if you have the time to watch it, again, could be good information. But Kigan Remsky, speaking of Chris Pratt, I can't remember what was the name of the bad guy in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Was it something the Planet Destroyer, Planet Eater? I don't know. Pokemon Go to the Polls. I get that reference. That was so cringe. Jonah Wingster, wait, Odin, you didn't like playing as Haley? You hate black and deaf people? Is that what you picked up? Yes, Wendy Hunter. Yes. You have to play as a deaf black girl. And then you also have to help a guy ask out another guy. And that was the storyline. I'm like, nope, get me out of here. Harwick. Apparently the new Dracula movie isn't out here yet. Why do you keep saying... Why are people saying the new Dracula movie? Just say it what it is. Dracula movie isn't out in the United States. It was released overseas first. Consensus is it's a lame ripoff of the 92 Coppola version. Interesting. Zine, since you mentioned How to Train Your Dragon, I went to Universal in September with my sister and dad. Epic Universe was amazing. I got to meet Toothless, and it made me cry, as he reminds me of my late cat Jet. Aw, yeah, I've been most impressed by the animatronics that they have, because the dragons look phenomenal, and the actors they have playing, like there's a couple actors that they will show in videos who are pretending to be Hiccup, and they do a great job. Like they are fully in character and great one-liners and everything like that. Geek64 picked up the F1 Formula Steelbook. Unfortunately, no IMAX format. Bro, how did you get a Steelbook? Who did you have to kill to get a Steelbook? Teach me your ways. Jenna Wingster. Odin's playing bad Pokemon games. Hardwing. The title is Dracula Love Tale. Thank you. Its story is basically copied from the Coppola version, but with the lame romance subplot amped up even more. Ugh. No, thank you. Zine Waters, the villain in Guardians 2, his name was Ego the Living Planet. That's what it was. I knew it was played by Kurt Russell, but the character name, I don't remember. Why? Because Guardians 1 is the only great mainstream James Gunn movie. The only one. I know a lot of people will mention things like Slither. That's independent. That's indie. Not saying that it's not good, but not mainstream. Okay? The only good, and I would say great movie James Gunn has ever made, mainstream, Guardians 1. Guardians 2, people like it. It's forgettable. I know nothing about it. I remember nothing about it. I have no desire to ever watch it again. Guardians 3, I just remember there were a lot of really sad animals, and I was emotionally manipulated throughout the entire movie. It was effective, but in hindsight, it's like, really? I have no desire to watch that ever again. The only one that's rewatchable, mainstream, is that one. I would not say Dawn of the Dead is rewatchable personally. If you're a horror fan, maybe. As someone who is not a horror fan, I'm sorry. Zombie Baby? No, thank you. I have no desire to ever see that ever again. No, thank you. Jenna Wingster, it's okay. I didn't like Spider-Man 2 either. Dang. I like Spider-Man 2. The ending is terrible. The most cringe sequence almost ever in cinema history. MJ running in the wedding dress. Ugh. I don't care if it connects to something else. I don't care. Visually, what it was cringe. Zine. Oh, the actors are amazing. I met Rough Nut and Tough Nut hilarious. I bet they look better than the ones in the movie. Or at least I hope they do. Justin C. Predator Badlands looks like the next tentpole release on 11/5 before The Running Man, though the latter seems like a better film. Maybe. All right, so let's jump out of the chat for a second because I do want to talk about some of the other things in the title. I sometimes can get lost in the conversation. So first off, let's head over to the brand new, updated and released geeksandgamers.com. Check it out today. It's awesome. I was able to get a box office article out. This thing posted faster than I've ever had any article before. So shout out to all of the new people behind the scenes to help make that happen. We can clearly now see a lot of this stuff. I also have an article about Rotten Tomatoes versus critic lists and how Rotten Tomatoes system is broken and explaining how the whole tomato meter works and how it's just an awful system. But as you can see from my headline, I have headlines, guys. Tron, Ares, another massive flop for Disney. Black Phone 2 has a mid-start, prospects unclear. So obviously everyone has been talking about Tron Ares and how much of a flop that it is. We, of course, are talking about the fact that because of the film having a budget of $180 million before marketing, a total cost likely of $270 million, it has to make $540 million to break even. As of this past weekend, it had only reached $102 million. So it's about less than a fifth of the way to its break-even point. As of right now, the film is $220 million in the red. Now, this is, of course, based off of what they have told us the budget is, what we are expecting the marketing budget was. Disney is always notorious for overspending on projects, going way over budget, and also spending a lot more than your typical studio on marketing costs. Now, overall, I am projecting that the studio will lose at least $150 million on this movie, and there's a good chance that it's closer to $200 million when everything is said and done. Now, as someone mentioned, we have some in the chat who have seen the movie. I know that Blaine at Critic Lists is simping for this movie as well. He is a big fan of it. This is the same Blaine, of course, who also gave a mid score to Jaws. So take that for what it's worth. I love you, Blaine, but he knows everyone's going to crap on him for the rest of his life about that terrible take on Jaws. The fact that he gave this a higher score than Jaws is already like, no, just stop, man. Just stop. But based off the current trend, right, as of the last, as when I was writing this article, it was at 44% on critic lists. The most recent update actually has it still at 44% with one extra vote. So not a lot of people seeing this compared to some of the other films on the platform. But as you can see, it is pretty mixed overall, right? So you've got your boguses, you've got your decents, of course. You've got your probably way over the top, most excellent scores. And then you got your rads. To me, the rad and the decent scores probably make the most sense. Some of the higher boguses, that sounds more realistic. I haven't seen the whole movie yet, so I can't really say one way or the other. But it is mixed, all right? There's just no other way to say that. Mixing and ultimately mid-score. Decent score. This is why I love Critic List, though, because this gives you a better idea of what people are actually thinking. So it's not just what we in the YouTube space think. It's not just what the Fellowship thinks. It's what general audiences are thinking about these movies. Now, obviously, we are talking here about numbers, and it is very important that we set the tone off before we go too deep into any of these numbers, okay? So I need you to follow me. I need you to stay with me for a moment because we got to get this taken care of.
Time to see a real math magician at work!
That's right, everybody. It's time for some math and to see a real math magician at work. So, yes, the top 5 for the weekend. These are the estimates for the weekend. We obviously do now have actuals. and they were $26.5 million for Black Phone 2 as a new release. If you adjust for inflation, keep that into account. Ticket sale changes too. 3 years ago when the Black Phone 1 came out, it's about equal. It's about the same. That means the audience hasn't really grown a whole lot for this movie. Because of that, and because their budget is higher, so with inflation, maybe $10 million more in total production cost difference. So luckily not too much of an increase, but still $10 million is not nothing, right? Especially when you are dealing with lower budgeted movies here. Basically, you're not seeing the kind of increase in box office that you would expect for the percentage increase in your spend on your movie, right? If you're spending 10% more on your film, you should expect at least a 10% increase in your overall box office. And we're not really seeing that right now. It's not curtains. It's not game over yet. We need the second weekend numbers for that. We need to see what those daily numbers are looking like down the line too, right? We don't have any Monday's numbers yet. Now, there was an adjustment. It actually did make more. Officially, it made $27.3 million. That's a good thing. Means that the estimates were off by a smidge, and it actually did better, overperformed in that way. Tron Ares did worse. It initially had dropped 60, I believe it was 66%. Let me see. Yeah, 66% was the initial drop. It made $11.14 million. It still did, but apparently it adjusted enough to where, actually, no, it was 11.4, and then I guess adjusted down to 11.14, or one of the editors went in and saw the change that had happened and then fixed that in some way. But now it's officially a 67% drop. Okay, awful, abysmal. Second weekend numbers bring his total domestic to $54 million. That is a terrible second weekend drop off. So as of right now, we have the charts. We love charts here on OMB Reviews, right? So the initial box office for these films, right, $42 million globally for Black Phone 2. That was as of the last update, so we could probably expect these updates to come in soon. Tron Ares around $103 million, $220 million in the red. Really not making any movement at all, so really not a surprise there. Roofman not doing all that great. Smashing Machine, same thing. Better than its box office. To me, the film deserves to be a close to break-even indie film, but it's not going to get anywhere close to that. And obviously, we've already talked about a lot of these other films. Now, one of the things that did come up over the weekend was how are the studios doing, right? Brian, my nemesis Brian on the Salty Nerd Saturdays, the Salty Saturday stream, he is a huge fan. I would describe him as a simp for a certain James Gunn. I would call him a gun nut of sorts. He's still spouting off his love for James Gunn and for the Superman film, saying, oh, it was a huge success and it made money and all that stuff. Again, we have the data. We have the facts in front of us. And we know that actually it didn't. In fact, based off of the reported budget and an updated reported marketing budget for the movie, no, it's actually $51 million in the red. And since it's basically out of theaters, that's where it's going to stay. So $51 million in the hole. It has to make that money up before it makes any profit. So theatrically, it's a flop, guys. Theatrically. You can't start talking about VOD sales until you first say, where did it end theatrically? It ended as a flop. So now it has to first make $50 million worth of money in VOD. I think it did or could do that. Again, it'd be really good for us to have that data, to be given that information. It would be awesome if all the studios said, hey, we're going to report all of our streaming data. We're actually going to tell you how much money we've made. Wouldn't that be nice for investors? For people like me who like to follow this stuff? Because I would cover VOD if we got that, but we don't. We get estimates and we get watch time, which is worthless in the grand scheme of things, especially when it comes to profitability. But this film was a flop. No doubt about it. That being said, Warner Brothers currently is having the best year by a long shot of any major studio in 2025. Now, these are rough numbers. I just want to be very clear. AI was used. Now, it's based off of my charts, so it's based off of my data, but it is obviously utilizing AI to help crunch the numbers. I did that because I was live on the stream and I wanted to get some quick answers because I was like, you know what? He keeps talking about Warner Brothers having a great year. How great of a year is it actually happening? Is it actually having? Now, again, in the grand scheme of the last several years, it's not the biggest numbers that we've seen, but in comparison to everything else here, it's pretty darn good. So the most successful studio right now in 2025, and obviously these are subject to change, is Warner Brothers. So of all the films that were listed as being produced specifically, so not just distribution, but produced by in some way, at least in part, Warner Brothers, the total net profits of all of their films, around $132 million in net profit. That's pretty good. In the analysis, it points out, right, a Minecraft movie and Conjuring Last Rites have been a big part of that, whereas films like Mickey 17, Superman, and others have also been eating into their profits too. Don't forget, right? One battle after another is eating into those overall total profits in a very large way as well. But hey, that's pretty good to end and to currently be in the positive, to be in the black. What's even more crazy is also the fact I forgot that some of these movies that actually come out this year, and that is that Disney currently is at negative $1 billion in losses at the box office. It says heavy losses in tentpoles like Snow White, Captain America Brave New World, and offsetting completely all of the massive, they made over like $200 million in net profit from Lilo and Stitch, all offset by their massive flops from the MCU, their massive missteps for their Disney stuff, live action, etc. And oh boy, this is what I was saying before. I don't think your net profits for Zootopia, which probably will be similar to that of Lilo and Stitch, so maybe $200-ish million in net profits. We'll have to wait and see how the film goes. I think the film will do better than people think. And then the guaranteed money that they will get from Avatar, because for some reason people still go to see those movies. I don't know if that's going to be enough, though, to make $1 billion in net profit. So I think Disney's going to end with a catastrophic loss. It's going to be by a mile the worst box office of 2025. The only studio that might be able to give it a run for its money is Paramount. And a big part of that is because they had a huge loss with Mission Impossible Final Reckoning theatrically. So again, these are just based on theatrical numbers. This is not based on VOD, Blu-ray 4K sales. That obviously decreases this quite a bit. But if you're starting hundreds of millions of dollars in the red, no studio wants to start off. That's not your starting off point when your movie leaves theaters. You want to have profit, break even, bare minimum, and then that helps to say, oh, now everything we make on VOD, everything that we make after the fact is just going to be a part of the net profits, and now we can start to really plan for the future and everything. You want your movie to pay for itself. Tentpoles typically are meant to pay for themselves and pay it forward to all of the future projects, or to cover the cost of the movies that lost money in a given year. It's a part of the nature of the business, right? Not every film is supposed to make money. But even from my charts, as you can see, most films these days don't make money. Those are very few black figures on that chart, right? This R column, those are net gains or net profits. And also, interestingly enough, right, how much of those losses are coming from Disney versus other studios is pretty crazy. It is pretty insane. Now, again, there might be mistakes in this, so take this with a grain of salt. But even so, I do think it helps to give some, visual aid to just how good or bad things have been. Universal, for instance, is at negative $26 million, according to these numbers here. Sony at negative $135. And let's see, Lionsgate at negative $212 million. Now, this is the part of the show where I do have to say, because Valiant Renegade, I know has mentioned it before, Lionsgate typically is able to sell distribution rights internationally, which helps to offset some of these losses. Is it enough to offset $200 million worth of losses? I don't know. That's why he says Ballerina probably actually helped end up making money in the long run, but still not a huge hit. A24 also has had a terrible year. Eddington and Warfare. Warfare was a phenomenal movie, but no one saw it. Eddington, no one saw it. A lot of A24 films have struggled. It mentioned some of the other independent studios. So Apple Original, $96 million. Again, keep in mind, right, the offset of numbers for them because of the deal with Warner Brothers. Bleecker Street in the red, Carnival, MGM, Neon in the black with $20 million. So that's good for Neon, for an independent production company. And then Angel Studios also as well, which again makes sense. So we look at these numbers here, and it's quite clear, right? This has been a pretty bad year for cinema, right? Even if some of those numbers might be off a little bit, right? The general synopsis and the general analysis that we can take away and walk away with all of that from is this has been a bad year. It's been rough. and there's not a whole lot of things left for people to be excited about. Black Phone 2 was one a lot of people were excited about, and I don't think it filled the hype. I really don't. Because this weekend you have Regretting You. Might be a rom-com situation, I think. Let me just double check that before I send anything anyone's way. Based off of the actors in the poster, it seems like that is the case. So Regretting You maybe will be a date movie. Maybe that will be able to do something like we've seen other rom-coms do in the past, where it just is able to kind of catch fire and do really, really well. Maybe this year's version of like the Sydney Sweeney film from like last year, 2 years ago. After that, there's the re-release of Back to the Future, which looks great. But then you've got Christie, November 7th. Predator Badlands, I wouldn't really call that a tentpole. I don't really think that has a lot of potential necessarily. Let me see if I can pull up some of the projections. I'm sure Box Office Theory has some early projections. He's got some 6-week tracking, including some early indication of Zootopia 2. Zootopia 2, he currently has the opening weekend, the 3-day opening weekend, set to 115 million domestic. For a Disney film in 2025, that's not bad. Could be higher, I think. And then the low-end domestic is the only other thing that he has out for free. He has the low end of the domestic at 394. I, again, think that it will probably end a little bit higher. I think Zootopia 2 has potential to be a billion-dollar film. Still too early to tell. Wicked for Good is probably the next massive. So that's where we are right now. There are no other massive box offices that are coming out anytime soon. So let me pull up the Box Office Theory charting here, okay? So as you can see, these are the films coming out that have tracking on them. So you got Chainsaw Man, the movie, Res Arc, 10 million, Regretting You, 11 million. That one could take off. We don't know yet. Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere, 20 million from Disney. Back to the Future, 4 million. That could probably be, that has a chance to be in the top 3 this weekend, actually, with numbers like that. Christie, nothing there. Predator, Badlands, only 20 million. That's terrible. That's abysmal. In fact, is this a live action? Dan Trachtenberg, he's done some stuff before. No reported budget yet. Elle Fanning is in the film. Again, on paper, it should do better than what it is. It's not looking like that's going to happen. It's a sci-fi movie from Disney. Probably cost $150 million at least, if I had to guess. So he did Prey. Prey was better than it had any right to be. That one only cost $65 million, but also it was distributed by Hulu, produced by 20th Century Studios. So that was still Disney, but it was one of their sub-brands. This time around, let's see, production companies, Davis Entertainment. I'm not seeing Disney as a producer on the film, so maybe the film won't be as expensive. We'll have to wait and see. Wikipedia can be incorrect though, so obviously they might be keeping off Disney's name from being there. Obviously they're a distributor on the movie, but you would think maybe should be bigger than what it actually is. But again, the numbers are pretty clear. 20 million for a Predator movie that probably costs at least 100 million. Not a good start. Sarah's Oil, whatever the heck that is, making nothing. Now You See Me, 12 to 17 million. Ooh, Lionsgate. This is gonna be another flop for them because they overspend on these films. Yeah, so nothing being mentioned there for the budget. But Now You See Me 2, that's right, $90 to $120 million. Oof. That wasn't the biggest of hits in the world either. But clearly they're making money somewhere. Neon has a film for a Neon movie that looks like it might be okay. Keeper, 6 to 11 million opening. Running Man, $22 to $31 million from Paramount. Paramount, one of those studios struggling quite a bit this year. Let's see, early indications of budget. Nothing. Probably cost quite a bit of money. Look at that cast. Yeah, that could be big as far as budgets. And if it is 22 to 31 million, that's not good. Maybe word of mouth could help. Sisu, Road to Avenge. I wasn't as big of a fan of Sisu as some of the other people on the YouTube space were. $3 to $6 million. Again, the first film didn't cost a whole lot, so that could actually be pretty good for them. So as you can see, the next big film isn't until Wicked for Good, but it's not going to make $1 billion. I think it's going to make about as much as the first film did. Maybe a little more. Maybe. Because if you're not already bought into this universe, you're not going to see this movie. And then of the people that saw the first movie, how many of them stick around? I know that my wife and I might go see it, but we had issues. Even my wife is not at all aligned with me on a lot of things politically. So the things that I would have had issue with, she would have no care for. But even for her, she was like, the changes to the score were not good choices. So interesting times. Interesting times. All right, we're going to start to wrap things up, but don't worry. If you've put a comment out there, I'm going to get to it. Just try to slow down comments, future comments. That way we can kind of let things breathe a little bit. But I do need to get to KN Kareen, who posted at 8:31 and gave a $10 super chat. Appreciate you, KN Kareen. Glad to see you back here on the channel. Saying here, it's the third best box office movie domestically in 2025. You don't mention that in your commentary. Facts matter. It's more complex with more within just a flop story. You are pushing it. Superman. Oh, please, KN Kareen, spare me. That's like saying, oh, well, during the COVID year, this movie was the highest grossing domestic film. Context matters. So you can say all you want about how, it's the third high. You said what? The third best domestic movie. Where does it land internationally? Not a good performer there either. You know what film made more money worldwide? F1. Now, that's not a dig against F1, but for a Superman movie to lose to F1 because F1 actually had legs and actually made more money down the stretch, especially internationally, and Superman did not, you can't ignore that. You also can't ignore budgets. And that's why I always say F1 theatrically was a bomb. There is a good explanation as to why theatrically, though, because of the distribution deals. Remember, Apple sold the distribution rights for that movie to Warner Brothers. So since Apple paid for the movie budget-wise, if we're talking about losses and gains, it's primarily from the viewpoint of Apple. So if Apple's on the hook for $96 million, I think that's where the film ended as far as its theatrical run in the red, one has to ask the question, how much did they, we don't know, how much did they potentially get from that distribution deal? There's at least an argument theatrically to explain why that film actually ended up making off better than Superman did. But again, those are what's and ifs. That's why I say theatrically, that film lost money. But so did Superman. The issue is that typically people who are fans of F1 are not talking about box office. They're talking about the quality of the movie. Defenders of Superman, they are obsessed with trying to make the film seem and look like a huge success. It's not. You do keep in mind this, Kay and Kareen. The first 3 days on streaming, you know what it lost to? Black Adam. Anyone honest will tell you Black Adam was not a good movie. And yet, more people saw Black Adam in the first 3 days on streaming than they did Superman. Where is that same level of hype you're talking about? Y'all are falling into the same trap that the Snyder Bros fell into. You think your film is bigger than it is. You think your film is better than what it is. And the fact and the reality is it's not. There was a ceiling for every Snyder film. Once it reached that ceiling, it didn't get back up there again. This universe already has a ceiling. And guess what? You know what doesn't help that? A rated R garbage tier series called Peacemaker and the continued lies, exposed as lies, from your new head of studio in James Gunn. So again, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. But don't come at me with facts matter and then you yourself leave out some important details. Just because you are the third highest pile of crap does not change the fact that you're a pile of crap. Congratulations. Do you want a participation trophy? Like, again, third highest domestic does not make your film profitable. And it doesn't change the fact that your film is not as your favorite film of the year, it seems, is not as important, is not as well loved, is not as successful as you are all trying to make it out to be. Can't wait for Supergirl to come out. When that one makes half of what Superman did, will anyone wake up? I don't know. Still too early to tell on that one, too. Sorry, had to go off on a little rant there. Justin C., thanks for streaming and good night. Still getting over a cold. Still need to take a cold pill and lie down. Well, I appreciate you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's see. Myra Baguette saying, regretting you is not really a rom-com. but more romantic comedy. Sorry, more romantic drama. It's based off of Colleen Hoover's book. She also wrote it. Ends with Us. That was turned into a film a few years ago. Ooh, that was not a rom-com, even though Blake Lively wanted it to be marketed that way. And yeah, now she's in a lawsuit about a lot of the stuff that happened in that film. Jimmy A. Predator Badlands is supposed to be PG-13, which may turn away the Predator fan base. I think the Predator fan base is pretty much done with a lot of these terrible remake reboots. I think that's where most people are at this point with that. If anyone is even left in that universe, right, in that way. Yes, and Now You See Me 3, years in the making. Everyone's been waiting with bated breath for that movie. Hardwick, Sarah's Oil looks potentially good. It's based on a true story about a black girl who discovered oil on her land in the 1910s and became rich. It stars Zachary Levi. Oh, is it at all faith-based? I know that he's done or has wanted to do some faith-based stuff, so let me know. Kane Rumsky tried to say 80s movie plus Ego, Kurt Russell, and Mannequin, Kim Cattrall, equals Big Trouble in Little China. I love that movie. I need to see it again. Zion Waters regarding Wicked. Don't even get me started on that show. The book is even worse. Ickier. In the sequel to the book, the Wicked Witch's son has an affair with a married man. Yeah, I don't even remember Son of a Witch, which is the sequel to the book. All I remember is that the child born at the very end had a hint of green skin. And there was like oh, it was her son all along. Yeah, the first book is very wild. Not a fan of it, I would say, but it's wild. It's interesting. The musical is infinitely better than the book. And the musical on Broadway and the musical book really is infinitely better than the movie was. But no denying that the movie is doing pretty well. Oh, boy. Can Kareen, worldwide but not domestically. Bro, Can Kareen, did you not listen to what I said? I literally said it made more worldwide. I literally used those words. Spare me your nonsense, please. Again, I understand that you want to simp for Superman, but please chill out. And don't put words in my mouth. I literally said those words. You can rewind the tape. I said, worldwide, F1 made more money. F1 made more money than Superman worldwide. I don't care if domestically one made more than the other. What is the total box office? And guess what? F1 didn't get there overnight. F1 didn't make the vast majority of its money in its opening weekend like Superman did. Please spare me. Goes on to say, I said it's complex. Not that it's a blockbuster, but it did better domestically than most movies this summer. I'm talking facts, not feelings. Yeah, you're talking feelings. Because, again, top 3 box office domestically does not mean anything when it comes to profits. Does not mean anything when it comes to actual total audience watching it. Does not change the fact less people watch that movie than Man of Steel. Less people watch that movie than a lot of other films, even before you adjust for inflation. The only one speaking out of emotion here is you, because you are defending this movie. Why? Oh, because you're emotionally attached to it. That's why. Thanatos, James Gunn is the reason I'm not watching anything from DC. I don't blame you. He's a pretty despicable person. Not talking feelings, just talking logically. Again, you're going out of your way to defend one movie. Hardwick, yes, it's a faith-based movie. Their trailer's out. Figured as much. Sarah's Oil is a faith-based movie. Figured that. General Wingster, we all know James Gunn's best work was Scooby-Doo. Michael Burkett, Kingdom Story Company's the ones behind Sarah's Oil. Gotcha. General Wingster, Superman did garbage numbers. Again, I would still not say that Superman's total box office was garbage, but compared to how people like Kay and Kareen are trying to make Superman out to be, yes, absolutely. It is not living up to the hype that they are trying to say. Oh, ours is the third biggest pile of crap this year. In a year where the box office has been terrible, my main defense of it is going to be that it was the third highest in one of the worst years on record. Oh, great. Great. Well done. You have now just become a Snyder bro. Guy. Hey, Odin, what's going on, Guy? Welcome back. Nope, you're simping. Because everything you just said takes nothing away from the fact 51 million in the red. Theatrically. That's a flop. Case closed. Yes. And guess what? My numbers account for that. 55% domestic cut, 40% international cut, 25% China cut. Take into account massive budget and also large marketing costs. Guess what? Flop. No, the movie flopped. You're supposed to be logical, but you hate the movie. No, I'm telling you a fact. We have the numbers. They have been reported in all of the trades. And guess what? If you take the numbers as they are being reported, and that's not even getting into the discussion about did the budget really only be like, was the budget only really 225? When on tax records, they put out there, their estimates were up to $360-ish million. Yeah, okay, let's just forget about that logical point for a second. Guess what? All you're left with is the fact it still, on paper, theatrically lost $51 million. Nothing that you say, third highest, again, doesn't matter. 51 million is the end result at this point. No idea. Kane Kareen, Santa Bros Unite. Yeah, seriously. Geek 64. Superman is my favorite superhero character, but I thought Fantastic Four was better, to be honest. Boom. Also another film that did terribly. Again, I'm being very objective. That film also did not do well. Lost a lot more money, but you know what? Also still lost money. No matter what you say, Superman. Gee, what are the chances of Tron becoming a Disney Plus series if Tron Ares does good when it comes out on Disney Plus? Right now, Tron Legacy isn't in the top 10 for Disney Plus. That's the problem with, thank you, Gee, and we're wrapping things up. That's the biggest problem, Gee, is that the losses on that movie are going to be significant enough to where it's going to be hard for them to justify spending any more money on it. King and Rumsky, I think that Fantastic Four movie was better than F1, and here's why. Boom. Kimberly G, James Gunn made me a Snyder bro? Uh-oh. KN Rumsky then says, KN Kareen equals Steve? Definitely acting like it. Rob D, KN Kareen is Tony from Deadline. Maybe that's the case. Either that or it's Tom. Shout out to Tom. True, Fantastic Four didn't do well. Agreed. Kind of sad because it's the best of the MCU effort in years, but numbers don't lie. No, they don't. Which is why it lost money. KN Kareen, you don't know the cut for international. It's 40%. Different rules for different countries. Bro, do your research. Not saying it was a blockbuster, just saying it did well domestically than most. Again, you can say that all you want. It still lost money. Cry more. Yes, 40% international. That's because the average is 40%. Do you have every single country's total cut? Please, please give me the data. Tell me where it says every country's cut. You know what you will find? Roughly 40% for all internationals, with the exception of China, where it's only 25%. And guess what? When you take all those into account, it lost money. No matter what you say. Your feelings on the movie are irrelevant. It lost money theatrically. I've not said anything about VOD not eventually paying off those losses. But as a studio, you don't want to start off 51 million in the red. Why do you think they pulled it from theaters as quickly as they did? Why did it go on VOD so fast? Why did it go on streaming so fast? James Gunn is going to lie to you because guess what? He's already been proven to be a liar. So you can't use him as a legitimate source on anything because he's been proven to lie. He said it was because of, we're trying to bring attention to, if it was my choice, I would say no, right? But the studio thought, let's bring attention to Peacemaker. That amazing show that never tracked, that again did terrible numbers, lost a huge portion of the audience after that first episode. But I wonder why. No, please, again, spare me. Oh, the third highest grossing film domestically of 2025 doesn't change the loss. I could have a film that I love in the top 3 domestically, and you know what? I would never think of that if the movie was still a financial flop. I would say, yeah, that might be true, but still flop. Even if it was a movie I liked, I would still call it as it is. I call balls and strikes. I like Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 2 was a fun movie. Not as good as it could have been, but still fun. Guess what? Massive flop. Emotion has nothing to do with any of this. I'm emotional because you're just annoying the hell out of me right now. That's where the emotion's coming from. Rob D, add arguing with Kay and Kareen to the stream title. Seriously. Kay and Kareen, yes, it lost money, but it was also the third best movie domestically as of today. That's all I'm saying. Again, why are you saying that, though? You are clearly saying that. Keep in mind, what was your original comment? You said, it's the third best box office movie domestically. You don't mention that in your commentary. Facts matter. It's more complex than just a flop storyline you are pushing. You came in to my chat, sent the super chat. Thank you for that money, by the way. You sent the money, and then you tried to argue that somehow I'm creating a storyline and a story arc here that's not based in reality. Guess what? How often do I bring up in any of my commentary for any movie, oh, it's a top 3 movie domestically. Oh, it's a top 3 movie internationally for the entire year. Guess what? Not something I typically bring up, ever. Why? Because it has no relevancy to total net gains, total net profits. Oh, I'm sorry. You can start your own channel and you can say everything. I don't know how much time you have in a day where you want to just bring up all the stats that you want to bring up. Please go ahead, be my guest. Be my guest, but our service to the test. This is how I know you are simping for this movie. Why are you being so defensive of one film? I have not heard you say this about any other film that came out this year. Why didn't you complain when I didn't talk about the highest grossing domestic movie or the second highest grossing domestic movie? Because I didn't bring those up either. Seems like it's the movie that's going on here. You came in, Kay and Kareen, and called me out live on my stream. Yeah, that's a pretty serious accusation that you made, so I'm going to call you out. And yes, you are ridiculous, and yes, you are a simp. Simp alert, everybody. Does that offend you? Find a reason to change the name. King and Rumsky, can you get your calculator out and go through Superman vs. F1 ticket sales with appropriate percentages calculated by country? Oh, man, oh, man. Oh, man, oh, man, oh, man. Oh, yeah. Let's bring up Sinners, which I already admitted saying, yeah, based off of the opening weekend, it was tracking to flop. And guess what? It tracked out well, and I was wrong on that one. It did a lot better down the line. But you know what's out of theaters and therefore irrelevant to that discussion? Superman, which lost money. Thank you. Maya Reget, are you interested in seeing Lanterns? No, not really, but I've gone on way too long. Kay and Kareen just coming in. Again, I appreciate the super chat, but just coming in, being a bit of a jerk, right? Trying to say I'm not giving facts on anything, please. I focus on net losses, net gains. That's where my focus is. That's where my focus has been for a long time. I've never been in the game of saying, oh, this is a top 1, top 2, top 3 film domestically. If that's your game, you go ahead and start your own channel. You can talk about your top 3, top 4 total domestic box offices ever. You go right ahead and bring that data point up. I don't bring it up because it has no relevancy to whether you have a net gain or net profit. Where you stand in the number 1, 2, or 3. Now, does your total domestic matter when you have a large budget? Yeah, absolutely, because you do get a higher percentage. But whether you're the 1, 2, or 3 does not matter, especially in a year where the box office is already low. You're like saying, "Oh, you are the third highest little person that still can't look over the wall because the wall is so large because your box office is that terrible." It has no relevancy to anything at all in the discussion of net gains and net profits. If you're talking total domestic, that's one thing. But you're playing the game of, oh, it's the third highest. You keep saying that over and over again. Again, why are you trying to give this movie points when the reality and all that I've ever said is that it's a financial loss? Clearly, there's something keeping you harping on this movie. I don't know what else or how else you define simping, but that's kind of what I would define simping to be. This fight reminds me of Godzilla vs. King of the Monsters box office. I still love the movie, but it's a flop, though. Yeah, exactly. Oh, man. Wendy Hunter says here, love the charts. Yes, we love charts here on OMB Reviews. General Wings for Superman 1 ending was perfect. Facts, Odin, facts. Kay Green, no, you are being rude. Again, you came in and gave a super chat knowing that I would read it. And in there, you try to say that I'm not being honest. That's a pretty big accusation. And guess what? You have nothing to actually back that up. Oh, I don't mention that it's the third highest gross. I don't mention that about any of the movies. I don't even know what the highest grossing domestic is or the highest, because it is not relevant to your net gains and net profits. Please go right ahead. Good luck with that. See how successful you can be. I think Kay and Kareen is trying to keep you from your ice cream. Now, I think so. I think Kay and Kareen knows about my back issues and is just trying to keep me on longer than not. But anyway, smash the like button, everybody. Make sure you also smash the rumble button as well. Make sure you especially do that because Kay and Kareen would probably hate it. Especially since this is a stream about facts, about staying honest. And the honesty is, guess what? The film lost money. Nothing else needs to be said, really. It lost money. Just like a lot of other films this year lost money. Tron Ares, massive flop, will lose a lot more than Superman. One about another, losing money, will also lose a lot more money than Superman. But Superman still did lose money. And you brought up Sinners. Yeah, Sinners did very well down the stretch. But still, based off of its budget and typical marketing, it was not the biggest hit of the year. $45 million in net profits. Now, it's made a lot on VOD. Again, going from flopping in the opening weekend, because that's where it was heading based off of those opening weekend numbers, and having an amazing, historic week 2 drop. And I remember that video, I said, this is historic. Like, this is just unheard of. This is massive. Once the numbers start to point a direction, I follow the numbers where they go. Period. And the numbers are now done for Superman, and it lost money. Like a lot of other films this year. Whether you like that or not doesn't change that fact at all. Oh, man. I thought we were done with the Snyder Bro types, but apparently they just keep coming back under a new form. Cowboy Ties is top 10 selling novels in small town of Crooks, North Dakota, of all time, maybe. Nice. How many sales is that, though? Is it a small number of sales? That's actually a great example, right? Cowboy Ties is the top 10 selling. Yeah, it's like, oh, yeah, it sold 3 copies. Oh, but I'm in the top 10. Again, as you can see, great example of how being top 10, top 3, not relevant to the discussions that we have here on the channel. That was just your opportunity to, I guess, get internet famous. Again, I'm a small channel, so I don't know exactly what the point of it was, other than just to be annoying. Maybe in your head it sounded better than what it was. But yeah, dude. Ridiculous. Key264, I think an easy rephrasing of the point might have eliminated this fight. I agree. I think had they actually come in good faith and actually made a more cogent point, it probably would not have led to it. But again, when you start to implicate that I'm not being honest or that I'm not giving facts and that I'm pushing a storyline, I'm not pushing anything. I tell the numbers as they are. I follow the numbers where they lead, even if I don't like it. If Superman had been a profitable movie, I would have said it. I would have said, I don't like it. But hey, it did it. Guess what? It didn't. King and Rumsky. Superman lost money like Solo. Solo lost a lot more money. But yes, they both did lose money. Kimberly G. It won't matter when Avatar 3 comes out. Yeah, that's true. Wendy Hunter, have a good night, and I hope your back feels better. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Kevin Ties, you have a good night. Kimberly G. Have a good night. Let's see. Jimmy A. Have a good night as well. Stonewolf77, have a wonderful evening with what flavor ice cream. So ice cream is just, it's a part of the channel lore. I have no ice cream, unfortunately. I might have enough time to run to the grocery store real quick, and maybe I can get some ice cream. Maybe. Jonah Wingster, all I got from this stream is that Superman is the third best opening on domestic scale on the second Friday in July, and Odin plays bad video games. I would also add, and also, even as the third highest, that's actually even almost worse, even as the third highest grossing domestic movie, it still lost money. That says a lot about how bad this year is overall, right? That's not just Superman. That's Hollywood in general. That's a ton of other films that have lost even more money. But it didn't help at all. Anyway, I love you guys. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. Please make sure to never just mindlessly and emotionally simp for anything from James Gunn, who is a perpetual liar and a creator of some of the worst IP this year. Have a great day, everybody. And as always, God bless. And now let me give a shout out to all of my Chosen of Valhalla members, starting off first with my Patreon members, Father Luca Illich, hail to you, Father, and also to Miss Mountain Muses. Check out her YouTube channel by the same name, Miss Mountain Muses. She is very lovely, great, awesome Catholic faith-based content over there. You'll also find over on Subscribestar my member Matt317. He is on Twitch with the same channel name, Matt317. Shout out to you, good sir. And also to a longtime member here, Mr. Roy, my Chosen of Valhalla member here on YouTube. Mr. Roy, thank you for always hanging out and for always being a part of this channel. It does mean a lot, as well as it does for all of my Chosen of Valhalla members. And if you want your name shouted out at the end of every live stream or video, or if you want it listed in that list that was playing just before, just now, check out the top link in the video description below. You'll find out how to get those types of shout outs at the end of every live stream and video. Not to mention, you get access to bonus video content and also access to a Discord server where there are a couple of channels on there where I do giveaways every single month. In fact, I do multiple giveaways every single month. I try to make it so that I'm giving away Blu-rays and 4Ks that make up at least 4 or 5 different giveaways. Sometimes I have to put them in all towards the very end because back in the school session, of course, now means that I'm going to be a little bit more delayed there. So if you want access to things like that, if you want access to a great community, you guys seriously are all amazing and beautiful. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And as always, God bless.